So tell me, Lindsay, how did you get involved with the whole animal rights movement? I know you've been working with Jane Unchained. Tell me a little bit about how you got all involved in all this.
Well, I've loved animals since I was a little kid. And I
Mm-hmm.
do remember thinking back now, I was a very poor eater and I really didn't want to eat meat. I didn't like the bones. I didn't like the tendons. I didn't like the fat. But my
Yeah.
parents, they would think it was the best thing for me to eat. So they would always have these dishes and, they would try to make me eat this. But then as I grew
Yeah.
up, I always had like as many pets as I could have. I always loved animals, but I never made the connection between animal agriculture and loving animals, thinking I was an animal lover.
Sure.
When I became aware, it was funny. I was teaching at the time. I was teaching college design, and
Mm-hmm.
my students, we did some public service. So they wanted to do stories about veganism, which I didn't even know what that was. I thought it was
Mm-hmm.
vegan when I first heard the word pronounced. That's how out of the loop I was. But to make a long story short, I became educated. I became a vegetarian about 20 years ago. And
Oh
then
wow.
about 6 years ago, I became vegan and moved back to LA. I was living in San Diego teaching, and I used to live in LA. I moved back, and I met up with one of my girlfriends, and she had become an activist, and she had become vegan, and it was just the right intersection for me. I had done some, foster care in the past and things like that, always caring about animals. So
Yeah.
that's how I got into it, and I started working. And I met you through Sky Valencia, remember?
Oh yeah, I do remember. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was
Another
working.
animal lover.
Yeah, she's great, and she does
Yeah.
uh, Puppies Without Borders, and she's
Mm-hmm.
working on this campaign with another group, and I'm going to be having them on.
Oh great.
Yet another group. Like I said, I try to interview as many of the groups and get the word out. Really, for anyone that is doing that type of work, where they're
Sure.
helping the environment, helping animals, I am like you, happy to interview them and
Right.
help get the word out.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's really good.
Yeah,
No,
so
that's
from
good.
there, I guess just to finish up the story, from there, I met Jane Velez Mitchell. She came to my house and we did a lunch break live. And then
Nice.
down the road, she was looking for contributors before COVID to go out and do citizen journalism. And I just
Oh,
thought it would be great. So I did that for about a year. And then she asked me to host a show, and that's how I got the show. And that's been about a
that's
year and a
great.
half. So.
So tell us a little bit more about that journalism. How would if somebody wanted to get involved, or somebody who, like yourself, that was doing something completely different than animal rights, and
Yeah.
and get in and was able to get involved. Someone who's listening that might want to get involved that have no idea how to, how would they be able to?
Well, to get involved as an animal rights activist or become a video journalist or citizen journalist.
Well, you're doing it for animal rights reasons, right?
Yes,
Yeah. So in that case, for example, let's just say
to help
somebody wanted to,
animals. Okay.
yeah, to help animals.
Actually, we are looking for contributors. You have to put in an application
Okay.
on janevelezmitchell.com. No, sorry, janeunchained.com. Wasn't prepared to give that one, but it would be our WordPress site where we run all these phenomenal stories. And if
Yeah.
someone was interested in being a contributor to go out on man on the street, we're particularly looking in areas out of LA. We've got a lot of correspondents here, but they're welcome to. But
Sure.
anywhere more remote, we would love to cover more areas, and that's how you would go about doing that. And what the job entails is when there's protests and things like that, you kind of want
Yeah.
to keep track on social media, and
Right.
then you can say, I'm going to cover this story or that story, and you go out on the road and do that. Or you can cover vegan restaurants, and that helps promote them. So there's a lot of ways you can do it.
Yeah, that's great. That's really awesome. Well, like I said, I'll put the links on there so people can go on there and fill out their application if they'd like to.
Yeah, that's great. That'd be great.
Yeah. So what's the next movement? What's the next protest that you guys are working on?
Well, there's a couple of different groups working on different things. And I know there's a campaign, like I said, in October from the 12th to the 19th, there's going to be the adoptions. And
Okay.
it's really important that the right people get to adopt these animals. So we're trying to direct everybody through redbirdstrust.org or a couple of other organizations like the Cloud Foundation.
Okay.
Another organization that people might be interested in checking out, they adopted a band, and there's some wonderful videos on Facebook that show this one stallion being reunited with two of his mares and the babies, the colts. It's really, really heartwarming. And the name of them, that's Sky Dog Sanctuary. Also, Animal Wellness Action is another group that's working on it. Animal Wellness Action, and then Wild Horse Education. And I also interviewed a gentleman by the name of Craig Susser, and he has a website. He is an ecologist, and he not only he's amazing. I have him on a lot because he's one of my expert guests in the field of ecology, and he can tell you about ecology for the past 30 years in the United States, what's going on. Particularly following the wild horse herd. He lives in Utah, and he loves the Onaki horses, but he also works in the Andean. He was in the Andes working on with the tapirs. So anything to do with conservation and animal welfare, wild animal welfare.
Right.
So those are just some of the people that you can contact. I know that's a lot. We could put some key links so that it's not.
We'll put the links on there for you folks so that you guys can go back and check out all these educational websites.